Welcome back, everybody. In 1941, Hilda Cohen was a teenager, one of 1,200 Jews on a Nazi transport from Frankfurt to Poland. Only Hilda Cohen and two other men from that transport survived the war. But she did a lot of writings about her experiences in a concentration camp, but didn't tell anybody about it. She stuck her writings in a drawer for over 50 years. They weren't discovered until after she passed away back in 1997. Her husband is with me today. He spoke last night at Temple B'nai Israel here in Albany. He's going to be speaking tonight in Israel. The book is wonderful. They have put her writings together. Of course, they were written in German. They're in English as well. Words That Burn Within Me, of Faith, Values, and Survival. Hilda Cohen was married to my guest for 50 years. You were married, you guys? Yeah. It's good to have you in Albany.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here. You yourself were you or were you not at some point in your life as a teenager in a concentration camp as well? And how did the two of you meet? Because you went different directions,
right.
Did you not?
On the so-called Kristallnacht, which was the 9th of November 1938, a massive arrest of Jewish men occurred in Germany. And as part of that, 30,000 ended up in a concentration camp, including myself. I was only just 16 years old. I was the youngest in Dachau. I only stayed for 1 month because an opportunity arose. The British allowed 10,000 young Jewish children, gave them asylum. And I was joined to a transport of 13-year-olds, being the only 16-year-old, but it was my way of getting out of Dachau and survived in England. I met Hilda after the war. She went through the worst of the Holocaust. 3 years of starvation in the ghetto, then Auschwitz, and then finally the death march. On that section alone, on the death march, out of 50% of people didn't make it. When I met her, I was a graduate student at Hopkins, just beginning in '46, and she was introduced to me by my sister. She didn't speak much English. She needed contact, social contact. And when I met her, I didn't have anything. She was meeting me in hand-me-down clothes. But out of it developed a relationship, and we were married for 50 years.
Wow. You shared so much last night, and you and I could talk the rest of today just about everything that's in the book. But it surprised a lot of people last night. It has surprised a lot of people who've been able to read the book because it's poems and it's things that she felt while she was there. But she never told anybody about the writings, and she really did put them in a drawer, did she not? And
yes.
They weren't discovered. They were there for over 50 years.
Yes, these were all writings in ordinary school notebooks, lined. When I found them, I saw this writing in penciled in, very hard for me to read. And when I got immersed in it, it suddenly blew my mind. I was totally taken with an aspect of my wife's personality which had fully escaped me. She was a literary genius in German. The German book has actually been published 6 years ago, and in November 1, Germany's most famous actress, Bourbon Iris, read from my wife's writings, and they invited me to be there. But we were husband and wife, raised families, grandchildren, and it came as a surprise that I was living with a literary genius.
Yeah, because Dr. Cohen, so many people, when they experience something like she did,
yes,
they don't ever want to talk about it again.
Yes.
They don't ever want to write about it. They don't want to speak about it.
Yes.
They want to do everything they can to put it out of their mind. She did just the opposite, pretty much, didn't she? Or it was her way of dealing with it, maybe.
Well, you could say that. Perhaps she was dealing with it. She didn't hold back, and although we did not at length discuss it with our children, we did try to protect them from any anguish that existed. But I think if I were to characterize my wife and her dealing with life, it was entirely based on the fact that she was raised as an Orthodox Jewish girl, and her faith was such a sustaining feature of her life that even under the most dire circumstances, it gave her the strength to go forward. After she was liberated eventually, she returned to raise my family in that manner.
Good. Well, we're glad that you're in town to share her story and yours as well. There are two websites, www.hildasterncohen.org hildastory.org. Also, hildastory.org will keep this information here at the station. He's going to be speaking tonight here in Albany, Porterfield United Methodist Church. The dinner is at 6:30. You can call Porterfield United Methodist for more information and to make reservations for tonight. We are glad that you're in town, and we're glad that you survived that ordeal in your life.
I'm delighted to have met you.
Okay, good to meet you. Thanks for being here. We've got to take a break. Back in just a moment.